Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Loren Kling. Welcome to another Film Threat Watch Party. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I could afford. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if you joined us last week, you might have seen somebody else sitting in this very seat. I want to thank Tristan for filling in for me last week. It was my birthday, so I was watching from afar, but I appreciate you covering the movie The Habit with Bella Thorne. This week, we've got an incredible movie called The In-Between. Watched it last night. I really loved it, and I hope you can watch it with us. Hope it's your second time. There's a lot of wonderful things to this movie. So if you haven't yet watched the movie and this is going to be your first time, no worries. We're going to start the movie in about 15 minutes or so. This is a watch party. So think of it kind of like a casual backyard party where the movie's going to play in the background. We're all hanging out. We've got our drinks. We've got our snacks. So you're going to be at home. You're going to actually stream the movie on your own TV or your own computer, laptop, phone. And then you're going to also watch this watch party on a second device. That's why it's called a second screen experience. It's not a DVD commentary. It's not that official. So here's what happened in this scene. When we color graded, we decided it's not like that. This is casual. So you might find one of the producers of the movie here tonight leaving screen for no reason, then coming back with a drink. You might find one of the actors doing an audition for apparently no reason on a Friday afternoon. Anything could happen, but welcome, join us, get the movie ready to go on your own device. Where can you get this movie? You can get it on Amazon Prime. You can get it on, I know I've got it right here because I created this. You can get it on Apple TV. It's available on Blu-ray, and I wouldn't recommend you go run out right now. But you can watch this at any time. That's all I got to say. So anyway, thank you for joining us. A few things before we bring on the filmmakers and cast. I want to talk about Film Threat. Well, filmthreat.com is your source for all things movies. We're talking independent movies. We're talking about the big studio movies. Right now on Film Threat's website, you can find out all the latest from Los Angeles's very own Dances with Films that's happening right now here in LA. You can get news like everything we know about the new Wonder Woman 3 DC movie. There's information about Fest Dance. Of course, you can catch interviews from our fearless leader, Chris Gore, who has conversations, 20 to 30-minute podcast conversations with filmmakers. You can also see previous watch parties here on our YouTube channel. All kinds of places. What do we have coming up right here? We've got on September 3rd, we're taking the day off because of the holiday, but September 10th, join me back here for a watch party for the movie Brewmance. It's a documentary that takes a look at craft breweries. On September 17th, 1 hour out call. And then on October, we're putting together some amazing horror-themed watch parties for movies, for documentaries. So stay tuned to that. All right, enough about me blabbing about things. Let me bring on, before we start, our fearless producer, or one of the producers of The In-Between. Let's bring on, all the way from Los Angeles, Blaine Weaver. How are you, Blaine?
I am great. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. You are also in LA. We've got Rain in Los Angeles. We've got Chris, who's going to come on in a second. So we've got people from all over the planet, pretty much.
Absolutely. And Mindy Bledsoe, our fearless leader, is held up a little bit. You know how LA can be with that kind of thing, but she's going to be on in just a few minutes. So I'm a placeholder until the much more interesting and attractive Mindy Bledsoe shows up. So.
Well, you are more than just a placeholder. But
Thanks. I'm going to put that on my tombstone. more than a placeholder.
Yes, more than a placeholder. Also, if you were watching us live, you can actually ask Q&A. You can ask questions of the cast and filmmakers. So go ahead to our YouTube channel right now. Go ahead to our Facebook Live. We're even on Twitch and Periscope. Post your questions now or during the movie if you want to have any questions, or you want to talk about somebody's previous work. If I was going to post, I would want to ask Blaine, what's the deal with paying for a picture with Barry Bostwick? Are you like a super fan? Where were you?
I am absolutely a super fan of Barry Bostwick. One of the super fun stories about the In Between and how it all came about was I directed a Christmas film with Barry Bostwick and Jennifer Stone, which Mindy Bledsoe edited, and Rob Senska was the cinematographer, and Chris Lyon did work on the special effects. So everybody from the behind the scenes of the In Between family worked on this movie, Santa Girl. And I also do the voice of Peter Pan for Disney, and I did a convention, and it was my first one I'd done, and Barry was there, and he literally made me pay for a picture. I directed him in a movie, and he made me pay for a picture. So I just, for the record, he's very petty, but terribly talented.
Yeah, you know what? I remember going to a Star Trek convention, and the actor Rene Auberjonois said, you can only be in the line. You still have to pay, but I will only sign something when you can pronounce my name. I mean, it was tongue in cheek, but he said, you will learn it now. Rene Auberjonois. And obviously, I have not forgotten that. Like I haven't forgotten the Shakespeare I had to learn in my one Shakespeare class.
Well, see, these are both things that come in handy. You never know. You never know when you're going to need that information.
I know. So how do we go from Barry to this movie, The In Between? But you kind of already touched on the fact that you've worked on projects before. So how did you get involved in this one?
Well, what's great about it is that I have kind of this. I made a movie called Cut to the Chase about 5 or 6 years ago. And we formed this, what we would call the Brain Trust. And it was, Mindy Bledsoe, it was Rob Senska, it was Chris Lyon. And we made this movie together, very low budget movie. Like, we crowdfunded it, and, and it was an action movie. So there was so much like on our shoulders to try to make this small budget work. And we became fast friends and just kind of wanted to work together forever. And so I got hired to do Santa Girl, which is available on Netflix, by the way, just saying. So I bring my team with me to make the movie better. And while we were doing all this, Mindy met Jennifer Stone in the process, and they formed this beautiful friendship. And her and Mindy, Jennifer, and Rob all got together and said, we should make another movie together. And they started writing. And they had this crazy idea to make an independent film on the road, driving cross country, with literally a cinematographer and one producer, Chris Lyon, who was also running sound and doing everything. I was not on the road trip. I was so impressed that they were doing it, but I was delivering the Christmas movie at that point. But yeah, they did this thing that's like the most indie film thing I've ever heard of. And it turned out beautifully, and they asked me to come on to help with distribution and, find a home for it. And so I did that, and I'm like, I'm so happy to be a part of it. But like those 4 or 5 people, Rain included, all just kind of dropped everything and made this film like on a wing and a prayer. And it turned out so lovely, and I'm so proud of them for it.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we bring on Chris, so he can tell us where he's at. He's like, where's Waldo? He's just in a different location.
He's a jet setter, man.
He is. I just want to let you guys know this is the In Between watch party. The watch party means that you and I and the whole world are going to stream the movie together at the same time. It's going to be like a casual backyard party. What's great is you get to stream the movie on your own device. So you still got time. If you're watching with us live, we're going to start at about 5:15 p.m. LA time. You can get it on Amazon Prime. You can get it on Apple, or if you already have it on Blu-ray, then you can watch it with us. And if you join us late, don't worry. You'll know when we're going to start the movie. And this is pretty evergreen, so you can watch it at any time. All right. Speaking of on the road, from a secret location somewhere in New Mexico. Oh, did I give away the secret? Chris, how are you?
You did.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for joining us. And definitely, if I didn't say New Mexico, the piece of artwork behind you would have been such a giveaway.
That's right. We're We're blessed to be on the indigenous lands of New Mexico, and it's a beautiful out here. It's actually like 58 degrees in the desert. It's a dry environment. I'm from Louisiana, so it's a real treat to be somewhere that's not swimming through the liquid air of Louisiana.
Got it. Well, thank you very much. So as Blaine had mentioned, you went out on the road, and it was Mindy, Jennifer, and your cinematographer, and then you all cramped in the back seat of one of their cars, right?
Yeah. So we had two vehicles for the production. We had the picture car, which is where Rob, Jen, and Mindy spent 90% of the film. And then I was in the truck in the chase car with all the equipment, listening to podcasts and jamming out to Spotify for like 1,400 miles. So I every now and then Rob would get in the car with me, so out the window at the car. But that was about all I got. So I got a lot of introspection on the trip.
Very nice. Well, thank you for being here. We're going to start the movie in a few minutes. I want to bring on some additional guests. So thank you for waiting patiently. See, Blaine, that's what happens at a casual backyard party is when you talk too much, you need to excuse yourselves because you need to get a drink. So I'm going to bring on Rain. Why don't you introduce Rain for us?
Well, guys, this is Rain Jameson. He's fantastic in the film and a great actor and a filmmaker in his own right. So happy to have you here, Rain.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to see this again. The last time I watched this was at the screening downtown. It was the last time I watched it. And then I've had a lot of friends and family reach out to me after watching it since, said they loved it and enjoyed it. And I'm still inspired by what you guys were able to pull off. I mean, I kind of had the easy role in this. I showed up and did my part, but you guys drove across the freaking country and, made a film with next to nothing. And it inspired me to actually do my short film later, which was daunting in its own right. But what you guys did, I think, was even more impressive in my opinion. So.
Well, I know that Rob and Mindy always talk, every time your name comes up, they talk about how they decided to rewrite your scenes in the back of the car on the way to meeting you. You were flying in or driving in or wherever from your location, and you were meeting there, and then they suddenly had like 7 pages of new material, and that you learned it in moments, and they were blown away.
Yeah, I was actually
off book. He was ready to go.
Yeah, I was actually down in Texas working on a film that fell apart, and I left there, went to Denver to visit my brother, and then when this opportunity came up, Jen got a hold of me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about putting you in this movie. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." But the only problem is I was in Denver and we were filming in Portland, and so my brother actually drove me from Denver to Portland, and we camped along the way, and then I showed up and I learned my lines and my character on the drive over, and then showed up and filmed for 2 days, and then shot off on the rest of the camping trip with my brother. So kudos to him for being my on-set chauffeur.
Awesome. All right. Well, let me bring on a couple more people so we can get the movie started. Let's bring on my favorite Elle King impressionist who sings her heart out. If you can find the video on Instagram, let's bring on Mindy Bledsoe. How are you?
You just called me Elle King a little bit, and I think like my life is over. I'm done. I'm happy. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
I thought for sure you were going to call in Ansley at any second because she's the one with the voice and everything.
I'm looking at Ansley off camera. She's got a knife dangling in her hand, and I'm like, I'm going to hold off a second until I figure out, because she's like having a whole meal. You know what? Should I just bring her on, Mindy?
Oh my God, please do.
Okay. I didn't want to get busted. Hi, Ansley. You continue eating. I wanted someone else to take the blame.
Oh my God, look at your backdrop. It looks great.
That's my little Shreveport shrine.
It looks great. I love
it. Thank you.
I love that. Now, why did you drop the knife, Ansley? What's going on? You're not being your true self.
So I walked in the door from work like half hour ago, and I was like, I have to eat. I'm super pregnant. I was like, I'm gonna be the most horrible person if I don't have like a good meal. So anyway, I was like, I'm just gonna eat on this thing.
All right. Do you want me to put you off camera, or do you want me to keep you going so we can kind of just stare at you eating while we're doing this?
I mean, that's totally your call, but I'm comfortable.
All right.
Yes, leave her there.
So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know you're going to be the star attraction, Ansley.
Yeah. I mean, she always is. Puts on a good show.
yeah, I'll just try to be as polite as possible in the process.
Yes, perfect. Just no worries. Anyway, we're going to start the movie in a second. This is the in-between watch party. If you guys are watching us live, have your questions posted whenever you want. If you're watching this at another time, just send the questions right to their Instagram accounts. And if you go to Mindy's, like I said, you can see an awesome video of her singing is it an entire Elle King concert or just one song?
Gosh. Oh, that was just one song. Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it.
Moment.
I loved it. And I'm wondering when your album's going to drop, because we know Ansley's worked on many albums.
I can't even like lie my way through this one, like with praising myself. Like I'm like, Ansley's right here, and she's like my queen. She's like my queen. Oh my god. So Ansley, when's new music coming? Get right down to it.
I really wish I had something exciting to tell you.
Yeah. But when's the baby due?
Baby, he is due in like 5 weeks or something like that.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
wow.
thank you so much.
So great.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I don't know. My husband and I are kind of always tossing ideas around, and we both miss making music horribly. Like, I'll be honest, I don't really miss the like road life and the like going and having to lug all your crap in, and like Chris is sitting right next to me, but like all that, and then like sound checking and dealing with the sound guy that doesn't want to do what you want to do, and like I really don't miss that part.
Yeah.
I really, really, really miss the creation of music, recording it, and then the release of a product. It's like the tangible thing, you know? I mean,
for those at home who don't know, her husband is Chris Rimmer, and he joined Hydrogen Child and started creating with you. I don't even know how long ago that was, but so he's also part of the music that you guys hear in this movie.
Yes,
so
he is. He's
awesome,
a very big part.
Power couple.
He's the heartbeat, man. He's the bass.
I'm excited to talk about this. Because I have the whole story, Mindy, about how they met and who had a fan crush on whom, and this whole new genre called glitter pop, which I love. So we're gonna talk about that. I do want to get the movie started. So the way this works is you guys are at home. You're gonna start the movie on your own device, and the reason why I bring this up multiple times is sometimes we have filmmakers whose parents and family are watching from afar, and they wonder, when are you going to start the movie? I don't see it on this watch party. And I have to remind you, you got to play it yourself. So put the VHS tape in, and if you've got it on VHS,
send me a copy.
I've Laserdisc, so I'm gonna have to flip that.
There's always somebody that brings up Laserdisc, and tonight it's rain. So get the film ready to go. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to do a 5-second countdown. So we'll just start it. We'll keep it quiet. So for my panelists, just keep it on silent in the background and throw on the subtitles if you want. And we'll press play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. There we go. And we've got Secret Identity. We've got the title cards coming up.
Hey, Blitzka works. This dialogue here was super fun because it was recorded in Nashville, Tennessee. many months after production, obviously in post.
Yeah, the movie starts with a punch right away, and so
We have to
boy,
give credit to our audio guy, Steve Voss, who did all of the mixing and engineering. Am I saying all that right? He gave us this great idea for this punch and this opening, and yeah, we ran with it. It was great. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, you guys did such a good job of creating the world right away here with the, like I already know who this character is 10 seconds into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fun. We were able to shoot at Jen's house here, and these are actually Jen's cats. So no cats were harmed.
no cats are ever harmed, which is good. What was great about this movie, and I know it's been appreciated by a lot of film reviewers and fans, is how it's a fun road movie about two friends who don't just discover themselves, but discover each other. And it also deals with people who suffer from lifelong medical issues.
Yeah. Chronic illnesses. Yeah. They're always there with you.
Mindy, do you want to talk at all about how the idea for this thing came along? Like how you guys...
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, we decided to make a feature film instead of going on vacation. And we hit up Jennifer Stone to be a part of it. And but first and foremost, we hit her up with a horror movie script. And she said no. She said, I only have 2 weeks off of school. I'm not doing another horror movie. Why don't you do something that actually means something? And I was like, well, like what? And she said, well, we've talked a lot about wanting to bring our own disabilities, our own chronic illnesses to screen. So why don't we have these characters that have these kind of chronic illnesses, but not make it about chronic illnesses? And that's kind of where it all started. And then, we wrote the script out really quick. And we were from inception to day one of production was only a month. So it went very, very fast.
And then how many days of photography did you have?
God, we drove 14 days. So we had 14 days on the road, and then we had one pickup day in LA. So we had 15 shooting days, but we did 14 shooting days in 4,500 miles. So yeah, go ahead, do the math. Did you do it? Does it make sense?
Ansley, what's the answer? I'm assuming you're eating and you're doing the math calculations in your head.
Right?
That's amazing in 2 weeks. Plus, it's just some beautiful, fun cinematography. And I happen to just finish watching Schitt's Creek for the 50,000th time. And it's kind of about like a cute little motel. And you guys stayed at some really interesting motels.
We did. All of those interesting motels we found on the road. So we always knew the idea of what we wanted to shoot at. So after hours of driving, Chris or myself or Jen would, or even Rob sometimes, we would just get on the phone and start like trying to scout what was coming up. And be like, okay, here's a weird small town coming up. They've got motels. And then we'd take an exit and go see if we liked what we saw. But we kind of knew our boundaries of what we wanted. We kind of had the idea of how we always wanted it to look. And so we followed it that way. We lucked out and saw some great places. So I'll mention when we see those up again.
Now, one of the tricks of the trade for independent filmmakers and filmmakers who don't have the money to scout locations and get permissions, did you worry about getting permissions, or did you just
Why would I worry? That doesn't help production. I worried about it after it was over.
Got it.
Yeah, because 14 days and 4,500 miles, there wasn't time to worry about that, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, not permission.
I get it.
Yeah.
Hello, Lucas. We kind of just, in case, Lucas, you're just joining us, you missed it. It was 14 days principal photography on the road. How many miles?
4,500.
4,500 miles. And he loves Jennifer Stone. And we
So do
hope you
we.
love, yeah, we all do. And Jennifer, I'm assuming she's either filming something or she's nursing somewhere
I think
right
she's
now.
in the ER right now, working. Yeah. She is
Yeah.
actually working tonight.
And that's one of the things that I think are things that people who watch movies don't really realize is a lot of these projects are passion projects, but it's not like we can afford always just to star in our own movies. We've got side gigs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jen's auditioning and has stuff all the time, and she's still nursing. I mean, living in LA is an expensive life.
It is.
But
So
she also has a passion for it, which is really, exciting.
Yeah.
And so during this time, like it's so admirable to see the amount of hours and work that she's doing, then balancing auditioning and, she does this oil of Olay thing, she's like whatever, like a face of a product. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, she was like finishing school, like she was on break when we filmed this, and she graduated like right before COVID hit and was like starting her job. Like that was out of the gate. Her first experience was dealing with this global pandemic, and it's just getting to, she's very open about it on her social feeds and things like that, about what she's going through and how when she has good days and bad days. And it's really crazy to kind of have that happen right as her first, after she graduated, kind of jumping right into this really crazy time.
Yeah. Definitely a trial by fire.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm going to assume that everybody on the panel here are multi-hyphenates.
Yeah.
Rain, I know you've done live theater. You've done voiceover as Peter Pan. Let's see, Blaine, you've got an English degree and political poli-sci degree. You've directed and written.
Whoa,
Let's switch those. I think you got those
Loren,
backwards.
you showing off your research.
Oh yeah. I only get freaked out when it's wrong research.
Happens all the time.
Chris, are you still editor-in-chief of a magazine, Underground Magazine in Shreveport?
Yeah, that it's always an interesting challenge, because the Underground Magazine was one that was really focused on arts and entertainment. And so when things went online, we had a print magazine for a long time. And so we had our online website, but we had a lot of content moved there. But a lot of what I ended up doing during the pandemic was actually not working so much on the magazine, but actually working to help artists and restaurants kind of put on virtual events and things like that. And I work with a nonprofit in Louisiana that is all about creative entrepreneurship. So I did a lot of that instead of the writing so much. So that's what I've been doing.
Oh, awesome. I certainly wasn't asking so I could show off my research prowess, although it's pretty darn good. But just to kind of open the conversation to your life outside of this film, outside of filmmaking, which I always find interesting. And at least for my parents, this world is so foreign. And I'm wondering if anyone here on the panel has to ever explain to their parents things about this world that they don't get.
Well, I'll jump in real quick with an anecdote. My parents were incredibly afraid of me being in the film industry. They were afraid of me being taken advantage of, and kind of, they had this vision of what Hollywood life was like, or what filmmaking was like, and it was a very narrow vision of what filmmaking can be. And so they were really worried for me, but they've warmed up to it over the years. And so I guess, they always supported me, but they always were very concerned too, until they kind of got a chance to see what it was actually like. So.
What about you, Rain? How were your parents?
They've always been very supportive. I went to school for production. Originally, I applied to school for biology and pre-med, and the only reason I was doing that was just for the wrong reasons, for money. And so I went where the big bucks were with independent filmmaking. And it was my passion ever since I was little. I mean, I made my mom, not made, but, begged my mom to buy me a camera when I was like 11, 12 years old. I think I got 2 Christmases knocked out to buy a Sony Handycam. And so growing up, I would always make little films with my brothers and sisters, with my friends. And it's always been such an interest of mine to see how you can take and create this whole world with so little, right? Like, I always love watching things and saying, oh, just to the left of that was craft services, and there were 10 people standing here. And like, I love seeing the finished product versus knowing what it looked like when all the bells and whistles were taken off, and how you can tell stories in this really powerful way. And growing up, I escaped into those movies and those worlds because I grew up in a boring town in Pennsylvania, and then it was my way to experience new and different things. And they've always been kind of supportive of the decision, and every time I'm in something, I think they know even sooner than I do when it's out. They're always like, "Oh, we saw your TV show." I was like, "I didn't know it was on. I didn't watch it. I don't watch the things that I'm in typically. I just don't like watching myself." So,
Mindy, for you, do you like watching playback? You seem like you would have kind of a casual, easy time.
On this, it was difficult to watch playback. But I mean, directing in this was so much harder than any other project that I've directed before, because my other projects, I very much, I need to see all playback and everything, very controlling. I could only be so controlling here because we didn't have the time. One of the best things Rob and I did before we ever hit the road was print out screenshots from movies and tried to make the movie in the house. So we printed it out and we had a storyboard of the best thing that we thought we could shoot. So it was able quickly to reference, this is the shot I want, this is the shot I want. I didn't want to watch too much playback of me because I couldn't get too caught up in any kind of insecurities about that. Like, I just had to give a performance and move on. So, but anytime I wasn't on camera, which is like this much, yeah, I definitely like to watch it all very hard.
So, Mindy, since you weren't watching playback, were you allowing Jennifer or anyone else in the car to give you feedback, or were you just kind of?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's 4 of us on this project. This was 100% trust. If I didn't lay down my ego and let them tell me if I was doing crap or not, we wouldn't have got to this movie. They all had a time, at some point in time, Chris, Jennifer, and Rob, at some point in time would look at me and go, no. Or we think you can do better, or that wasn't right. That's one of the things I loved about working on this project was how easy and open we all were on the road, how much we trusted each other to just really give the best performance we could and find the best visuals to support the story. So, yeah.
Very cool. All right,
I got a question. Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So in my version of the movie, you guys are in Vegas right now. Yeah. Did you guys go out after shooting this? Because I know that no. You did not. You were responsible.
Responsible? I was in so much pain. Oh my God. No, I was like, that first shooting day we had. Wait, Chris, did we have the time off before we shot in Vegas, or did we shoot in Vegas and then have the time off?
It was the morning after that we had time. Okay. I think we walked around the strip for about an hour and ate lunch. And that was the thing, like because that shoot in the bathtub went till hours in the morning.
Yeah.
And we had already been on the road, and we had already shot that. Like the movie is largely shot in order, so like the whole scene of them packing
in the driveway.
And driving to Vegas, all that had already happened. So we were at the end of a shoot day, 2 a.m, and there was just nothing left. I do remember us getting dinner though downstairs at the hotel, and we were sitting there and very quietly eating. And Jen was like, "I have to move chairs," and we were like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because I'm on the TV behind you. I can see myself on TV on some commercial or TV show that she was on." But that's about as far as we got. We ate at Shake Shack on the trip before we left town, and that was it.
Yeah. So no, there wasn't any wild times in Vegas.
Blaine,
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
So I have a question. Since Blaine, how do you produce a movie that's completely away, hundreds or thousands of miles from where you're at?
I couldn't have been less involved with what was happening on the road. I think, what they were doing was brave and bold and exciting. But at that point, I wasn't really a part of it. I was basically brought on at the end to take the movie out and hopefully, get us some distribution and, get into festivals and do all of that thing. I pale in comparison to what, the rest of the people on this podcast or watch party did for the movie. I just am happy to have helped in some way to get it out into the world and find an audience for it.
Blaine's such a big part of our lives. He's such a big part of why we did this anyway. I remember even trying to get him to come be a part of it when there was a scheduling conflict. I think there was a whole different story in which I had Blaine as an actor. So Blaine's always anything and everything I want to do, I always want Blaine a part of. He's just a great person to have around.
Well, and Blaine mentioned earlier the Brain Trust, which was, we've worked on half a dozen projects now together in some capacity.
Yeah.
And
so there is that trust, and that's nice.
There's a few things about this movie that I absolutely adore. One is the music, and another is the record player and the album. So can you, Mindy, talk about the inspiration, what the record player and which album, all about that?
Well, first and foremost, when we actually started writing this script, there was a panic moment because it was it's a road trip movie and I can't do a road trip movie without music. And obviously we didn't have money. So Rob hit up Ansley, who we've known since our time in Shreveport a decade ago. So, we were crazy fans back in 2012. We were crazy fans in Shreveport. We'd stalk them at the party at the bars that they would play at, and we'd just be like, "You guys are great." And then we convinced them to let us shoot a music video for them. And then we've just been mega fans ever since. And they're just really good people. Anyway, Rob called up Ansley and kind of pitched her this is what we're doing. Can we have some music? And the whole band, Ansley, all of them, they said yes, go to town. And so we got that music. So back to your question of music and record player. So now that I know I got all of their music, which I know in my soul and I love. So second, record players and vinyls. I grew up with vinyls. I have a huge vinyl collection. And it's just sexy. And I also really like the idea of Junior lugging something around. She's making her life harder when it doesn't really need to be. And that's kind of in step and in line with her chronic illness. So I like the idea of carrying a record player. It sounds ridiculous, but that was the emotional baggage that she was carrying with her. So I loved the idea of all that wrapped together. So that's why the record player's there.
Yeah, but that record player ended up being its own burden on production.
Yeah,
so
very
the
much.
scene that we just saw on the Salt Flats was the last time that the record player worked in any real capacity. It was
the first and last time.
The first and last. It's a battery operated thing that you guys bought online, and it came in right before the production. And so
I had the red one at home and I was like, oh, it's great. It's easy. It's portable. It's cheap. No big deal. But it was red and red's not part of the color palette. And I was like, well, we'll just get a blue one. It came in the mail. And then we charged it up and hit the road and we got to the Salt Flats and it sputters. And so we're spinning it and then backing away and trying to get that shot of what looks like the record player spinning, but it never actually worked ever. Yeah. So, well, I won't spoilers at the end of the movie. We were kind of happy to see it go. It gave us nothing but trouble.
See that final scene, and let me tell you, as it turns out, the record player did it, Clue style. But that's why I love these watch parties, because you get to learn, like, this didn't work, but it looked like it was such a great part of the story, and you're like, it was a piece of crap.
Yes, it was. God, it was. Yeah, honestly, there would have been way more shots probably of the record player and like the sexiness of vinyl, and no, we would have had more shots of it, but it never came to us. So
I just have this image of somebody reaching in and spinning it so you can get the shot. Is that accurate?
Yeah, very accurate.
Ridiculous. What a dumb problem.
Yep.
Movie.
And in the middle of the salt flats, which it was so hot. It's the middle of summer. I had just laid down in that salt. I was burning. It was so hot. And then it's like, let's do a close up of this vinyl record. And it was just like, why? Why won't you work?
Did Chris get credit as a turntable wrangler in the credits?
I mean, I don't think Chris gets enough credit for anything. I mean, because he's also, flash forward to the end of the movie. I can't wait to go into this story. He's in the ocean. He's in the ocean. We don't litter. We do not litter. So everything was recovered.
It seems like
spoiler alert. Chris did it, Clue style.
Chris did it.
I don't know what it is, but it seems like every time I'm on one of these Brain Trust productions, I wind up in the water. So the first film that we did together with Cut to the Chase, like Blaine has to like dump a body in the swamp, and we couldn't get the boat to stay in position. So I'm like in the water holding the boat in position, and it was a nasty thing. And then the water on the West Coast was just freezing cold, Northwest, ocean. So water gap.
Mindy, you can attest that is a very interesting interpretation of what happened, because he volunteered and was in the water before anybody could stop him. And I predict it was the same thing at the ocean. I think he stripped down and was in the water. I literally was in the boat and I said, "This is a bad idea, Chris. I do not approve of what you are doing." Got the shot.
But see, that's the thing about Chris. He knew it was going to make the shot better. He knew.
Yeah, that's true.
We love you, Chris.
I got to say, Mindy, you and Jennifer, before I really know anything about the movie, have such a fun chemistry. I'm like, I wonder where they perform sketch comedy together. So anybody else on the panel agree or completely disagree with me?
So in this conversation they're having on screen right now, they're talking about singing songs at a funeral and being a showgirl at heart. Both of them are 100% that. Jen does performances and dance and stage stuff, and Mindy I've seen do the best possible karaoke of showgirl show tunes on the planet. So like it's 100% real. It's 100% their personalities, and I'll attest for the time that I got to spend together with them. It's truly like a sisterly bond that they have. It's the chemistry on screen, but it's off screen as well.
Yeah, and their banter as well. Like when I first saw the first cut of the film, I'm like, how much of this is scripted and how much of this is you guys just having fun? And I don't remember the exact answer to that, Mindy, but like it feels so real.
62-page script, which isn't a long enough script, so there's definitely improv in there. But like Jen and I knew the point of what our scene wanted to be, and we always hit what was written, but we would just never stop. We would just try to always flesh it out. And if we like something that happened in the car, then that fleshed out the story more, then we made sure to keep adding it. So it was a constant evolution of a script. So, as the story goes on, we find our characters even more and more, and some of the improv gets even better. So, yeah. I definitely love improv. I think actors that know their characters well can bring out the better dialogue than I could ever write. So
This is a nerdy technical thing, but it's something that I think should be pointed out because I think it's so impressive. You know, when you have a big budget movie where there's a lot of improv, you have 2 cameras going at all times so that people can interact live to the 2 cameras. But we had 1 camera on this picture, so if you do a fun improv, it's useless unless you recreate it from the other side. So especially if you're going off book and you're playing around, it's a especially impressive thing from the 2 actors to be able to recreate so that it intercuts.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I know that I lost some good stuff because in the improv world, just because it wasn't covered and I couldn't creatively edit it in. So yeah.
Yeah, there were some really great moments that got built in post. Looks and things like that. That Mindy found, but as she said, not all of it made it in, obviously. But yeah.
Now, I love this scene in the bathroom, one, because it seems raw and real, and you're relying on a friend to come help you. And then we kind of see a continuation of your pain. So, Mindy, I was wondering, did the pain make it harder for you just to direct and act in the long hours, or is it something you can kind of maintain?
I've had it for 18 years, so I maintain pretty well. But a thing about being on set and filming a movie in 14 days is adrenaline. It is, by God, the best drug ever. So, that kept me afloat for 97% of that shoot. I think in this scenario, in this, because it was so run and gun, I'm very happy that my character that I had to portray was also in pain. So I didn't have to work to hide that as much. So that was probably the best decision I ever made, was allowing this character to actually show pain on screen. So I didn't have to worry about that as much.
Well, one of the things that did happen, with a tight crew, and there's, we're all, as Mindy said, running so hard. There's a lot of checking on each other, and I remember I was like, Mindy, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm a 9, and I'm like, you're a 9, and she's just like, yeah, but we're just going and we're just doing, and it was really scary, but impressive at the same time. She's,
and I don't have any memory. Thanks, Chris.
Wow.
Oh, this was a fun stop. This wasn't planned, but we saw this little America as we're driving by, and we said, well, we all need to go to the bathroom. And, we got out, and this place was so weird and interesting, and we just went to town shooting. So that was a fun place.
There's a giant jackalope. I guess this...
can we please talk about the music now?
Yes.
Ansley, who writes these words that no one can remember? Can you do it? It's been too long.
Oh my gosh. Which are USA?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
You take
It's gonna be so sad if I can't.
No one can, Ansley. They're so hard.
Go to see and love their solar silver eyes. We don't care. Make it work. Polarize. Stay up late. Advertise. Keep it cool. USA. I'm shocked.
Oh my God.
Woo,
oh, your voice makes me so happy. Oh my God.
No, I'm just I remember watching, well, obviously when Rob had reached out about the music, we were like, of course, do whatever you need, and he mentioned money at some point, and we were like, what? No, you can have whatever we have. We don't care what you do with it. It's sitting somewhere. I think at this point, we had taken the Vesper Bell off of iTunes and all that. So it's just literally we have about 8 million boxes of the hard copy of the CD.
A Vesper Bell?
Yes. But
guys,
that's
hit her up. You cannot find the CD anywhere.
So
oh my God.
Literally hit me up if you want this. like I will send it to you free of charge. I will do it. So if you
Wait,
want
hold on.
it, like we've got boxes
Hold on,
and boxes and boxes.
I'm
So you
writing
guys
this
know
down.
Vesper Bell is their first album, which we've got a handful of songs that make the movie. I die with this album. I die with this album. I love it.
And we like also die with this album in a different way. So we're like, this album can just die. But yeah. And I want Chris to come and sit next to me when he's done. I mean, eat and snack it. But I look cuter when I eat than he does. So, but like it. I don't hate, like, I'll tell anybody, like, I'm not, oh my gosh, it makes me cringe when anybody talks about Vesper Bell, or if I ever had to listen to it again, which is just because, I mean, it was our first go at anything, but like this movie, like Chris was just saying, like it breathed new life into it. I didn't cringe like every time one of the songs started. I was like, somehow they just worked. And we didn't know, even going to the screening of it in Shreveport, because Rob and Mindy had asked us for so many things that we just straight up could not give them, like like instrumentals, whatever we had, and we would try, like all that stuff is on 12 laptops ago, and like a different email, like we just didn't know where any of it was. And so there were so many times where they were asking us for things that I felt so terrible. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, we don't have this. So in my mind, I'm like, there's going to be like little snippets of our stuff here and there. Like, I had no idea. None of us had any idea when we walked into that theater what we were about to see. Like, we had no clue. We did not realize like the level. We just didn't know that it was literally like the whole thing. The whole.
Well, isn't it quite amazing, like how a lot of your lyrics super support the storyline, and
it's weird,
right? Like, I mean, we're not that good of writers or anything. I mean, so it just naturally, like, we say everything about this movie was so serendipitous, and I mean that goes. Having met you all those years ago and loving this
like
music,
divine
and
alignment,
music being
like
part of us,
alignment.
Yes, it was just.
Very cool.
Just a good experience.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Blaine and I were talking about at the top, there's that divine alignment of people meeting each other on a project and continuing to work in fun and creative ways. That's kind of what makes independent filmmaking so cool. All right. So I think if I got Ansley's story correct, Ansley, you also sell homes. Chris is either a CPA or works for one. You had like 405 different names for your band, Super Water Sympathy. And then which came first, the second album, or you said, hey, I like the name for our band. Let's also call the album Hydrogen Child.
I'm sure, gosh, I'm like.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. This is such a strange story. Clyde, our guitarist, is one of the most interesting people that you'll ever meet. I wish he was on this. I'd asked him if he thought he could, and he's like, I'll get back to you, and then didn't. But he, oddly enough, he and I still kind of work together a little bit. But he kept talking about, for like all on tour, he would go through these phases of these weird things he would talk about. And one of them was that the like Hydrogen Child X was about to be born. And like and none of us knew what he was talking about, but like it was a Clyde thing. And so we kind of just like, we were like, months prior to writing that album, we were just he would just talk about Hydrogen Child X and how like it's going to be a new type of child and like a new type of being that nobody knows, like whatever. And it's just a weird Clyde thing. But I was like, man, Hydrogen Child, that's cool. Like, I don't know why, but that's cool. And I've always hated the name Super Water Sympathy. So I want to say when we wrote that album, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like after we were finished and we had to name it, I was like, what about Hydrogen Child X? And for some reason we dropped the X. And then after we decided that we were going to change our name, because a lot of bands change their names and they change members or whatever. It wasn't anything like that for us. It was just like we were working with a manager at that point, and that said, if y'all are gonna, like, he had heard us argue about the name so much that he was like, if y'all are gonna change the name, y'all need to change it like now. Like if y'all are doing it, it needs to be now, because you can't let it drag on. And so Hydrogen Child was always in the running. Like, I don't really know why. I don't really know what it means.
It's easier to spell.
Yeah, it's easier to spell. Nobody ever screwed it up. And Superwater Symphony was always.
So when I first heard about you guys, I lost a bet because I thought it was Superwater Symphony.
Mm-hmm. Because that makes sense, Mindy. That makes more sense than what it was.
Yeah, well, I lost that bet.
It's Symphony. I thought I was reading Symphony the whole time. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's funny, all of the stories, when you expand these little things, these little stories, and hear the backstory. It's fascinating how everything comes together, yet there's more and more stories. But I'm a science nerd and I love, alternate timelines, and it's really cool to hear these kind of things. I got to ask about this, these row of cars, this farm. Where was this?
This was in South Dakota. This is Rob Sinska's family's land. So this is actually where Rob Sinska grew up. This is out at their salvage yard. Yeah.
It reminds me of Making a Murderer.
Yeah, right.
That's like that property. Yeah.
Did you say Making a Murderer?
Yeah.
Well, to go on with that, is this location the reason that you were aiming at making a horror film at the beginning? Because this location is
because we knew
hot.
that we could come to that location. So yeah, we were like, oh, we'll drive, and somehow it'll be a horror movie / road trip.
All I'm saying is,
We wrote
Rain's
that. I
instincts
really
are
wish
right
we
on.
could find that.
I want to know what the plot of that horror movie was. This might not be the venue for that, but I would love to know what that plot was, because this property is perfect. That's right for a movie for sure.
It's the sequel.
It's basically, it features every Superwater song that wasn't used in this movie.
Yeah.
So we're gonna use the in-between B-sides for the horror movie.
Yeah.
I just realized Ansley disappeared and replaced herself with a beard and a backwards cap.
Hi, I'm Chris.
This is Chris.
Also Chris.
Hi, Chris. Welcome. Brandon wants to know if that was a covered wagon food truck we missed, and where is that? Was that in South Dakota?
Covered wagon food truck.
Oh,
Yes, that was outside of a motel that we stayed at. Every morning, they got up and they made breakfast for their guests.
Wow.
In that covered wagon thing. Chris, do you remember where that was?
That was in
I kind of
Wyoming.
feel like Wyoming.
Yeah, that was one of the things we shot out of order as well, because we shot it after South Dakota. But I think when we pulled up, we were like, "What is that?" Because there's a few of those covered wagons sitting out there, and we thought it was just decor. And then we woke up in the morning and they were cooking omelets. They were grilling, they had grills built into the covered wagons or something like that. It was
This sounds like you could have a non-scripted show on Discovery Plus of you just doing a road trip of these motels and cool things.
I mean, I hope someone heard that, because I would host that in a second. I could, Jen and I would have a field day with that, just riffing off of each other in the motel rooms.
Unfortunately, Mindy, Ansley doesn't have any material yet, so if you'll give her at least 2 days to write all of your music. Okay.
All of my music, yes. Ansley, I'm writing a new script, so
Right on.
that means you have to write your music.
Weird demos. Got some weird demos for you.
All right. Cocaine Eyes, Kitty Girl.
Yeah.
Kitty.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Girl. Stalker.
So
Okay.
if anybody's interested,
I forgot I sent you those, man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They're good songs.
Mm-hmm.
if anybody's interested in knowing, the name of that hotel is the Covered Wagon Motel in
You
Lusk,
sleep in
Wyoming.
the wagons? What I miss?
That makes sense.
No, it's a regular motel,
Apropos.
but they do have covered wagons in the courtyard that they cook breakfast in every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
As you do.
As you do.
Chris Lyon shot this scene.
Yeah, that was super
Yeah.
fun.
This was Chris and Jen were alone for this scene. Rob and I had a family engagement, and Chris and Jen shot that scene by themselves. I love that scene.
In my mind,
one of the best
boom
songs
is
ever.
leaning against the wall. Sorry.
I feel like every time a different song, like every time a new song came in that had not been heard until that point, I just would lose it. I'd just be like,
Oh no, at the screening? No,
Yes.
it really truly gave these songs a new. When you're the artist, like you're so used to hearing it, you go through the writing process, and the performing process, and the recording.
and we had
process.
performed the hell out of these songs. Like we had like,
Yeah.
that's essentially why we took such a break, is because
Yeah.
I was like, if I have to sing this song one more time, I'm going to kill someone. Like we have got to write new songs.
So you go through processes, and like you're so like jaded to these songs, and then when you sort of step away from them for so long, and then again seeing them in a different context like this, in the context of a movie, it's like it's just all these new, just I don't know, emotions that are attached to it. And so it was just so cool. I remember that screening like vividly, of just like feeling these songs that we had been so jaded to in this completely new way that was just like this brilliant and kind of overwhelming, to be honest, way that like we're sitting there in the seats and we're just like weeping profusely. But I don't know, it's cool. It's a new appreciation for this, I don't know, and attaching it to this other story. I don't know. It was really something special. And it's cool to see, art adapted in that kind of way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like this new.
Well, and to remind you guys, what you did's timeless. It can always be reiterated in some way. It's timeless. You made good music. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I feel like there's a group hug moment about to happen.
There is.
I miss hugs.
Totally is.
And a campfire with s'mores.
I would love a s'more right now. Oh man.
You'll probably go outside and cook a s'more just by standing outside in the driveway.
That's accurate.
Set some graham crackers and chocolate outside, and we're good to go.
I was wondering when somebody was going to pose the question, like, Ainsley, how are you still eating? I just kept putting food on my plate. I'm like, it's been 45 minutes.
Hey, you're pregnant.
I still overdo it though. I still overdo it.
All right, there you go, just for you, Ansley.
What did I miss?
Can you see it on this? Can she not see it?
Are you watching the watch party?
Sorta. I'm watching the movie too.
Well, there's a question that says, Ansley, how are you still eating?
Oh no!
Just for you.
Oh, I'm not on the right thing. Is it in the YouTube?
Yes. Yeah. Here, I'll bring it back on.
Oh, there it is. Not anymore.
Mindy, who is this lovely woman here? This was a really touching scene.
This is Rob Sinska's grandmother. 88-year-old grandmother. This was a fun scene to shoot. Obviously, his 88-year-old grandmother isn't an actor, so we had her talk to Rob, and as we filmed her side, so when she starts saying stuff about love and you just mean the world to me, she's talking to Rob. It was so adorable. She just turned 90 this past year. She just turned 90, so she's still rocking. She was great to work with.
Wow. Now we haven't gotten to Rain's scenes yet, because he was holding out until a little bit later on in the film.
I was in transit. That's what
That's right.
But I am curious, Mindy, when you wrote Rein in, was he a foil for you or Jen's character? Was he there to comfort, or what was your thought? Because he's really the only other main character that's in this.
Right. So like as we mentioned, or as Rein mentioned, you know, he wasn't part of the script when we set out. The character of Miles wasn't in the script. So we just knew that in order to create some kind of tension, we wanted Jen to be talking to someone, which we always imagined was like a private investigator trying to locate her mom. And then when we found out about Rein and Rein could be there, I was like, well, it makes more sense if he could be like a brother. And she's been talking to this brother. So I wanted like this character just to be like the stability of what hasn't really been stable in the movie. So very calm, doesn't move much. And Rein himself is like this calm, tight, young, just, I mean, look at him. He's just so calm. So we wanted that very much. He was the linchpin of all of that, and just kind of bringing what would be like, you're right, but you're wrong. Sanity, the middle ground of everything. No, and it's crazy when I look back and I think about it, because I'm like, well, we wouldn't have a third act really without him, because he really helps facilitate the conversations between the two characters. And without that, you know, I didn't have that thing that was naturally facilitating these conversations between these two characters. So, I mean, I'm so incredibly grateful that he was there, because he's the third act. He makes the third act round and full. Thanks, Rein.
Yeah, I think you know, while you guys were filming all this, I was down in Texas losing my shit, and you know, getting all the craziness out of my system, dealing with the filmmaker I was dealing with down there. And so I think when I got to this set and had some time to reflect and drive there and kind of think about why do I work on these projects? Why do I work on independent films? I showed up very grateful to just have the opportunity to be part of something that was, you know, with people that knew what they were doing after the experience down there. So.
Well, and I was so happy to have this person I haven't met in real life step onto my set, be off book, completely respectful, bringing more to the character than I had even written in. Like, it could have been a disaster. We all know that. And so, God, love you, Rein.
It was a big risk, but there was that trust, you know, that we were talking about before.
Yeah,
paid off big time.
Yeah,
who brought Rein in? Who found him?
Jennifer Stone. Yeah. Like, it was somewhere outside of Vegas that she told me about, like, Rein's on a road trip and, you know, he acts. And I'm like, what? Does he want to come act for me?
It was fun. My brother, he brought his little dog, and yeah, we had a nice little trip outside of the shooting of the film, but this was a nice little creative kind of stop along the way for me. So, and it was cool to have my brother see, you know, a little bit a part of, you know, what independent film making looks like, you know, kind of behind the scenes. He got a kick out of that. So.
Well, here we come. We're finally entering this third act in the intro of Miles or Rein.
You guys have so many great shots.
I will say we did kind of ask permission at the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum to your question earlier about getting permission. we kind of asked.
Yeah.
We can take pictures in here, right? Does that count?
She said yes.
She did say yes. That is true.
Well, did you guys get static anywhere? Did anything, you know, you get any backlash anywhere you were trying to shoot?
Nope.
Awesome.
Not at all.
Love
everywhere outside of LA just is so accommodating.
Yeah.
What was the shot glass budget like for this film?
We owned all of those shot glasses.
I'm not surprised.
When I say, I mean, we had no money, everything you see is like like down to the thing that Jen like she digs up in the field, that watch that was her mother's in real life. That is her mother's Cinderella watch. That 10 was Jen's. Like we scoured everything that we owned and said, what can we do? What can we do? So.
And then there were things that were on the trip that became props, stuffed animals that were bought, and the photos that were taken in the photo booth, those became things that got stuck around and put in places. Yeah. You'll see in a minute the big cock country hat comes back, or a South Dakota hat or something kind of comes back in the picture in a bit.
That backpack I'm wearing, it wasn't supposed to be part of the show, but the purse that I had for Junior broke while we were in Little America, and then all of a sudden I have a backpack for the rest of the movie and no purse.
I never noticed until you pointed it out.
Oh my! You don't remember that? With
No.
the scene where the slow-mo scene where we're eating ice cream and walking, like we push cut and the purse dropped. My phone crashed. Yeah.
I did not remember it until it was retold later.
You know, Mindy, now that's going to become one of those like continuity trivia things with the movie.
Well, I think it's not really a continuity issue because they're on a road trip and it can be justified that she bought a backpack. And
we cut away. We cut away from her.
Cut away.
Like,
no
totally
one wanted
legit.
to see that transaction.
Every movie I've made. No, we cut away. Time passes.
Time passes.
Changed his shirt. It's fine.
He changed his shirt in the middle of dinner.
Whose was this? Somebody's apartment in Portland? It's got a beautiful view.
Right. Okay. So I booked two things before we left LA, and that was our hotel in Vegas and this place in Portland. So that kind of let us know that like we had to be in Portland on July 4th because we had reservations at this place. So that helped keep us on track. And I just scouted on the internet looking for a place that I could rent in downtown Portland that gave me views of the city line or the city skyline. So that's how I found that.
Is it a hotel or was it an Airbnb? Because it looks furnished like somebody lives there.
It's an Airbnb.
Nice.
And they didn't have any specific wording that says that you can't do that. You know, in LA, if you get an Airbnb, it's on there like no filming, don't even take a picture here. You know, in LA, every Airbnb is that way. But when you get outside of LA, they don't say that.
Yeah, I've been searching for a place from the feature that I'm working on. And that's what I'm running into. Everything I find that I'm like, this is perfect. It's like it's an extra $1,000 a day.
Yep.
Hey, Rain, I'm curious what it was like to drop into this after these people have been like 1,000 miles or whatever like that. Like, what was it like your first day?
I mean, you know, you could tell like I showed up and I was the outsider on this little experience that was happening, but I feel like I slipped in very quickly into the inside jokes that were going on. And like, you know, I was only there for 48 hours or a little longer than that. But like, we had a good rapport right away. And I remember just laughing a lot and joking and clearly
we shot 20 pages in 48 hours with Rain.
Yeah. Clearly not shampooing my hair though. I have the wonderful hipster hair.
I love it. You know, it puts you right in Portland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing to remember. I mean, the 20 pages and the last 20 to 25 minutes of this movie were shot in 48 hours. I mean, minus the very end, but that was a rush.
I learned all these lines on my iPhone because my brother didn't own a printer. And we went to a Kinko's on the way, like driving over, and their printer was broken. And so I was just like, I'll just read it on my phone.
He was more off book than Jen and I were.
Is that the worst Kinko's in the country? Which is really like saying something.
Yeah.
That's
it was, I don't know where it was, somewhere between Salt Lake and Denver. I forget exactly where. But
printer's broke.
Yeah. It's like, so what do you do? What does it say? You say you do here, Kinko's?
Just cake.
Lock the door, I guess.
Yeah.
You have good voice.
I'm holding off on asking about the conversation about the in-between. I think that comes later on, but when we get there, I'm really curious about that conversation, because not only is it the name of the movie, but it's also kind of, doesn't it clarify Jen's character's arc in this story?
I think it is everyone's arc in the story. I think they exist in the in-between. When we started off, we had the idea of what's the story between two big stories. So what's that in between? We didn't want to tell the big story of Junior's car crash and health issues. We didn't want to tell the big story about the trauma with the mom. Like, what are the small moments in the in-between moments? So we had that idea from the beginning. And then we decided to go ahead and title it The In-Between after, realizing I had a tattoo that I got on myself in 2014 that said the in-between is killing, which is kind of a little bit representative of these characters. So once again, in line with the serendipitous nature of just really taking everything around us and using it to make this movie. So there's how the in-between came about.
Do you have any other of your projects tattooed on you, or so far?
No. I mean, this came before the project even had an embryo. So, no, I don't have any other projects.
You got to get on that, Mindy. You got to get on that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Advertising is very important.
Very important.
Yeah, I always love those moments in the movie where they say the title of the movie. It's in my rider that I had to say. I think am I technically the one that says it?
I think so. Yeah.
In my movie's called Stud, and my character says it like 3 times in the movie.
Oh my God! Do you call yourself a stud?
No, I'm calling someone else a stud. I'm not the stud in Stud.
Now, if you can rip off sunglasses whilst saying the title of the movie, that's the real.
That's how I decide on the projects I'm gonna do. If my character says the name of the movie, I do it, and if not, I don't.
I don't have any good film jokes to make because I don't know anything about film.
That was a good joke.
No. I was like, man, I really want to insert something quick here. Chris is over here like probably so many things. Chris is the film buff of the two of us for sure.
Is Chris the huge Batman fan?
I keep wanting to ask him why he has this tiny Batman sitting with us.
I just found it in the Batcave and I brought it with me. I was
really uncomfortable right now.
Is Chris the one that's got like shelves and shelves of little action figures?
Yeah.
Okay.
How deep did you go in your research, man?
Who are you and how do you know information? What's happening?
I did not have to go very far. There's an Instagram post of Ansley just doing a fun little podcast with her friend.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering whose house it was at. And Ansley, behind you was just this ungodly amount of nerdy stuff on the wall, and I had to know whose it was.
That's our podcast studio / watchtower / Batcave / whatever.
Yeah, so far the only thing that you've been wrong about is the fact that Chris works for a CPA because he hasn't done that for like 3 years. But at some point he did. He did.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Wow.
I love research, so I'm sorry. That's
really
that's
amazing.
Thing. I love that. Yeah,
I have no life except to do research.
Isn't
it true, Ansley? When you were 3.5 years old, I'm just kidding.
Loren's inside the house, so he's inside the house.
That's your mom.
The house.
It's so funny. We just went on this. We just went on a little trip to Dallas with our kids specifically for the Disney store, to do something special with him before he, isn't an only child anymore. And he won't throw away any of the boxes that all this crap came in. And I'm like, dude, this box isn't even I understand. Okay, I get it. The Buzz Lightyear spaceship box,
it's a spaceship.
It's a spaceship. Okay, I get it. But these other just regular, just plastic boxes, and Chris is like, yeah, don't go upstairs and open my closet. Okay.
I get it.
Keeps the box.
I have to say, I think that Chris, Mindy, and I also get it. I don't want to brag about my nerd status, but yeah, man, you keep that stuff. You keep it.
You got to.
Forever.
Yeah.
Well, you guys keep the boxes.
Yeah. Well, the 40-year-old virgin, if you remember Steve Carell's character's got that apartment. I know the guy who the production designers based that apartment in the movie off of his apartment.
No.
He literally has 5,000 action figures and he plays with them all.
That's incredible. Yeah, it actually kind of drives me nuts when things are stuck in the boxes. Though I'm like, I just take it out and set it on a shelf and pull it down and show your kids, or even if you don't have kids, just pull it down and pose it in some way. Have fun with it. But yeah, no, I totally get it. I love that movie though. It's a great movie.
Soon your kids are going to be big enough and tall enough to throw things up at your shelves where all your collections are, or grab them and chew on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Roscoe, our son, he has pretty much full access to most of it. I'm not too crazy about it, but some stuff, yeah. But for the most part, he just goes nuts in there and, like you said, throws it around and pulls the heads off of things and wings and whatnot. So, yeah. But they're
I just want to jump in and say that, I love this big fight scene here. Screenwriting wise, this is and friends are breaking and.
Where are you? I'm
yeah. Where are you, Blaine?
I don't know, man.
What's
Am
the
I
time
late
code?
or early?
I think you're early. I don't know. Are you?
Am
Have
I
you
early?
seen the
All
park?
right. I'll just be quiet then. I had some trouble turning my sound off earlier. It messed up everything. So, anyways,
Oh.
I'll just be quiet. But there's some good acting and screenwriting coming up. You're
Mindy,
really going to enjoy
I like
it.
that. Thank
Mindy,
you.
you're just leaving the smallest park. Is this in Portland, in the
Yes.
world?
That is, yeah. Oh, I do believe it's in the world, the smallest
Wow.
park in the world. Yeah, it's in the middle of the street. It's a real thing. Yeah, actually, that was fun to shoot. We got some tourists who thought we were a really big deal, and they decided to hunker down and take pictures of us while we were filming. So while I was doing a whole exchange to my dead sister, I just have some foreigner just squatting down taking pictures. He's like, "Oh, a movie being made." That was fun.
That's such a Portland thing to have.
Yeah, right. The smallest park.
The smallest park in the world. Yeah, that's straight out of Portlandia. It's you don't even.
Exactly.
Now, Blaine, were you talking about the scene afterwards, the one where it's?
I think he's
Back.
behind.
Yeah, I don't know. The big Jen and Mindy, conflict.
Well-
I love seeing friendships build up to the big thing, and then it gets personal and it hurts, and it's the drama, it's the conflict and stuff. But I love that scene.
It's
Well,
coming
there's
up.
two fight
Brain
scenes.
having
So,
to sit there and listen to it, which
yeah,
is so uncomfortable and real,
right. Right. He's
So
just
what's
that
happening right
solid block waiting. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why are you in my space?
You're totally behind, Blaine, by the way.
Blaine, do you want the time code, or you just want to be kind of on a different timeline?
No, I just kind of suck. I'm just gonna live with it, and I'm just gonna embrace it. I'm fine with it. Of course, it's me.
If you're just joining us, like Blaine is, we're at about the 1 hour, 4 minute, and 54 second mark. So welcome aboard.
I feel attacked now, Loren. I feel attacked.
It's all love, Lane.
We're just
So-
watching the movie now.
I'll say editing the scene was super hard for me because I looked crazy. So we covered Jen first, and look at her. Look at those eyes. She's brilliant, and she brings these tears, and it's so natural. And I was like, on the other side of her, going, "Oh, can I cuss? Shit, I have to act opposite that." So when we flipped the camera for me, I was like, I'm going to act the heck out of this scene. I tried real hard. She intimidated me. She did such a good job. Look at those tears. Oh, she breaks my heart.
This was our last night before driving back to California.
Yes.
I mean, again, like a lot of this was shot in order, and this was the 4th of July.
Uh-huh.
So there was some conversation at one point about trying to work the 4th of July into it, but it didn't work out. We actually we were hoping that the fireworks would be in the windows, but they were on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
So it didn't work out.
Should have known.
No.
Man, down south, people pop fireworks for like the week after July 4th. I was gonna say, dang, you didn't catch any fireworks on the road on the way back?
Right.
Guess we just like America more down here.
Throwing down.
Yeah, well, we were driving through Northern California where the crazy wildfire happened.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Like, what's the one that burned like half of California? So probably why we didn't see a lot of fireworks.
Duly noted.
Noted. Yeah, best chance you would have had was a few sparklers on some balconies, I guess.
Yeah.
Why do you hate forests, Ainsley?
Because I just don't understand.
Yeah, we're just not quite as smart down here, I suppose. Surely someone's lost a house here.
Well,
like
the thing about Louisiana is that everything's wet all the time, so the chances of a forest fire are pretty.
Very true. Very true.
I love that that Rain, that Miles kind of tries to walk a very tight rope, trying to kind of talk to both parties here, not really having met Junior before. It's just from a character perspective, it's a risky thing to do. I mean, it comes so naturally in the movie, but like I would have all sorts of like red flags about talking to somebody's friend and trying to give them life advice as they're like yelling at each other.
Yeah, I don't do this in my real life.
I mean, guys, haven't y'all noticed on all TV and movies, there's always a friend that does the talking, but in real life, the friend never does the talking to. It never actually happens. But we need to facilitate the story and move it along, you see.
Yeah.
And this was like basically the same, or the, first time Mindy saw me act was in this moment largely, right? Like,
yeah.
It was kind of exciting to, like the pressure of like, oh, well, she wrote these words, she's directing this, I'm acting opposite her, and I have to be in this moment of my A game now. It's fun.
You were just so natural about it. You didn't seem nervous or anything. You were just like, here, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, great, Rain. Thank you for being so calm.
Can we talk about Mindy's wardrobe, or actually the wardrobe of everybody in this, like the T-shirts that have appeared in this movie, and the bandanas and the scarves and the armbands. We haven't really talked about any of the chronic illnesses during this. Cast. It's been talked about, and we've done how many things, and Mindy's talked about it a lot. So it's
Yeah. Well, let's see. So the arm things that Junior wears, for complex regional pain syndrome is what I have. Like, I don't wear that in real life. My skin can't really handle that, but it was a good representation for the crowd to remember that there is something wrong. Since it's what we call like an invisible illness, you can't always, give the audience a reminder. So we thought having that visual cue could give a reminder. And then also to fill out Junior's wardrobe, it goes back in line with what I said about the record player. How much can we weigh her down? How much can we put on her? Just what's holding her back? So that was kind of the idea with Junior. Of course, always still keeping as much color as possible. And with Jen, it was just like, I was like, you're a 90s grunge kid. Like, send me all your favorite stuff. Like, you're kind of angry at the world, and I want you to wear Doc Martens. And she's like, okay. And so she did. She had it all. And she went through her closet, and she just started taking pictures, and she would send them over. And so I did all of the wardrobe digitally. She would just send me stuff, and I would mark what I wanted and what I didn't want. And then we talked about it right before we left. So like filling out her wardrobe was super easy. Super easy. Yeah. I loved this scene. I thought it was beautiful. We shot this in some strange random little park in downtown Portland. And I loved that walking scene. Needed to throw that in. Rob did a great job following on that. So, I mean, and then we've got this song. What was the inspiration to this song?
Oh, gosh. This guy? Yeah. Yeah, he's got one. He's got a song on Hydrogen Child and then this one on the EP. He's all right.
Cool. I can't tell y'all how many people tell me that this song kills them. Like, they love this song.
It just goes so, like, it's so weird.
Like, you wrote the song for this movie. I know you did.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean,
oh my God, talk about, this is the beach that, like, the sun is setting and we find this beach and we run down these steps to this rocky beach and start to shoot. And you see, this is what Chris Lyon got into. He waited out there to help push this record player out to make the big sweeping gesture. We shot this in 30 minutes because we had to, because we wanted that sun. I mean, the sun was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So,
good shot. There's so much beautiful.
I mean, I think about that. Like, that scene could have gone so wrong, so bad, and I mean, we nailed it in 30 minutes.
Did. It was like we were looking for beaches because we were like, I want a beach, and the sun was like reaching to the point where it was going to get into golden hour, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody was like, "Here's a beach. I found it. It's on the map. We're going," and we get there, and there's a freaking lighthouse, and it was just so wonderful.
Yep.
And you put Chris Lyon in the water, and it's going to work out.
Well, I tried to do the pushing of the record player into the water, and you see it's just rocks, and it went nowhere. So yeah, really we had to rig it.
If Chris is underwater, if his head is slowly dragging something out, that's the only way it really works.
Well, I mean, he caught that record player, so I would think he was underwater. Gone, the record is gone.
Yeah, right. I tried to find it.
Did we establish what the record was?
The actual record was just a really super old. I think it was just like a mariachi record, and then Chris made what's that thing in the middle? A
graphic.
A graphic.
Oh wow.
The whole and the art that was the album cover and everything is actually Mindy's art.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh wow. So you did not ruin a Hydrogen Child vinyl album for the making of this movie?
I did, of course not. Sacrilege.
Existence.
Yeah, there's only one of those in existence.
Ooh.
Sexy.
Yeah.
That sounds
Baby.
awesome.
Transparent.
I feel a heist movie coming on.
Right?
Yeah. But it's safe in Washington, D.C. Don't worry. No one knows the whereabouts. Underground.
So before
This
it
is
gets
actually the music video that Rob and I shot for them back in 2013, I do
Oh,
believe.
wow.
Yeah. I think they were like, you want to do Slade Was Made? And we're like, yeah, love this song. They're like, okay, like, sure.
it took me a long
were like,
time.
why?
Like this song, if you listen to the lyrics, this song is not about. I mean, it is. It's a sweet song, but there's so many other. I mean, am I getting like vampire vibes out of it? I can't help but like.
Oh God, I don't know what this song's about.
It's
The song.
it smells so sweet.
Y'all,
meet.
look, I'm
like,
gonna send all of you guys a copy of Vesper Bell because I can't make sense of a single one of those songs. There were so. It was the first like, I was just like this. They were like testing me out essentially. Like, let's see if this girl Ansley, like, they had already tried like 2 different like singers, and for whatever reason it wouldn't work. And I'd never even had a band experience. I was a theater kid, so I hung out, and so the writing of I did write a lot of this song lyrically.
But she doesn't know what
but like
I read way too deep into it then.
Yeah, it was but that was like, I don't know, like one cool thing I guess you could say about that album is the songs can kind of just be what you want them to be. Like they don't really have to be. Clyde was always very he didn't like to tell people what to think or like tell people, about like have a clear, concise anything ever. So a lot of times he would have like a verse or one, and I'd come in and be like, okay, I'll write like this. I'll write the chorus, but like it wouldn't have anything to do with anything. I don't know. So anyway,
maybe that's why the music works so well in this movie is we're able to take it and
part of it.
Apply it to the story. So
yeah, it's placed really well. Like the tone of each song is placed so well with the tones of each particular scene, and a lot of times that's really all that matters. I mean, and I have people who have such attachments to certain songs, and their songs mean something to them, where it would almost have been a disservice had I like told them what I felt like the song meant to me. Yeah. So we definitely got a little bit less obscure as time went on. It's like a second album's a little bit, it's like, okay, she's writing about us. She knows what she's writing about for the most part. And then like by the time we released our like, poppy little EP, it was like, okay.
I love that EP. That EP did not get the love it deserved.
I do have a couple questions before we wrap up, but I know, Rain, you've got to go.
Yeah, I just text you. I'm going to get ready to shoot off here.
So Rain, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rain.
What else are you working on? Can we find the movie Stud, or did you just are you still working on that movie?
It's finished now. It's going to festivals. Currently, right now, it's not in any screenings that I know of. I'm waiting to hear for like a batch of the LA ones, and then eventually it'll be online. But you can find the information about that on my Instagram at Rain Jameson. I need to be a little better about updating and posting, but as it trickles out and whenever it gets into screenings, I'll be putting that info up on there, and trailers on YouTube. You can see that, and hopefully.
Awesome. And then most importantly, any upcoming Peter Pan projects you can talk about?
No, I think you're confusing me with Blaine.
That's me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Wait, that's Blaine. I'm sorry.
No Peter Pan for me.
He's way cooler than that. He's
only in refusal to grow up in my personal life is the only Peter Pan thing.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm writing an independent feature that I'm pulling some money together to try to shoot. I think maybe January, February next year. And I'm talking to some people about that. But that's all I have in the works at the moment. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, everyone stick around. Rain, thank you so much.
You're
I'm going to
welcome.
let you go,
Yep.
but thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Rain.
Good to see you guys.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Rain.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. All right. So one of our fans, Brandon, a friend of mine up in San Francisco, wanted to know what it was like to drive back to LA. Were you still shooting, or was that a wrap in Portland?
We wrapped in Oregon at the beach. We had a very strict schedule to get back home for Jen, so we weren't able to shoot. And luckily, I'm actually very grateful that we didn't plan on shooting in Northern California because of those fires. We had to take different routes than we wanted to. So, how was it? God, it was just like, I don't even remember. It was close your eyes and let's get back to LA. So tired. Do you remember, Chris?
The only thing I remember is finding, like, we struggled to find a hotel the last night we were on the road. So
oh yeah, we did.
We ended up in the crummiest of all the hotels we stayed in. A lot of them were kitschy, some of them were fun. We stayed at the hotel in Vegas, but this one, and thank God it didn't end up on camera because it would have been fit for a horror film, how crazy bad it was. And it was just like, let's just pay for we're going to be on the road in 6 hours anyway. Let's just pay for it and do it. But it was like, cash only kind of a place, hourly rates on the window. Oh man.
This sounds like the horror
stars
movie.
good.
This sounds like the horror movie story that we all want to hear.
That's right. That's the only thing I remember. I remember pumping gas a couple times. I remember that hotel, and then we were in LA. So,
got it. Well, thank you. So the final question before we find out what you're working on is, what's going to come first? A sequel or prequel to the In Between, or the next album by Hydrogen Child that's going to inspire the prequel or sequel?
I'm looking at you, Ansley. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and tell them, if they make any music, all I want to do is make moving pictures to it. Always and forever. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you do that. We gonna hold that because you got some weird stuff coming up. You got some weird stuff coming. So.
Mindy likes weird. Just
I do. I've entered a whole new phase of weird. Let's bring it out.
True.
That's
I
awesome.
really did forget that I sent the voice memos of Kitty Bear and Cocaine Eyes to Mindy.
That's the only version
I forgot.
we have, right? We didn't ever do demos.
Kitty Bear, the beginning of Kitty Bear is probably one of my favorite things. Like, your voice, even though it's just a memo. So for my birthday, like 2 years ago, she sent me memos of just like songs that they had thought about recording. So it's just like her like singing into an iPhone this idea of a song. I have them on playlists. It's like you'll be listening to like really well mixed, and then all of a sudden you just hear like this crackle, and then you hear nothing, and then you hear Ansley's voice, and I'm like, oh, Kitty Bear.
Well,
finish those songs.
Awesome. So as we end this, I want to find out any projects you're working on. Let's start with Chris and Ansley. We know you have a big project coming up right now that you're working on, a second child. So any music or other projects, any more Batman filled shelves coming up? Any?
I would say, can we plug Chris's podcast?
Sure. Yeah.
Batman-filled things. Yeah, I have a podcast called DC Comics Squadcast, like Squadcast. It's just a podcast. We just cover comic books. So we're talking about DC comic books, but
and they've been doing it for a long time, and it's like he
like
just says it casually, but it's part of the I mean, if you type in DC Comics on your search, like theirs is probably the first one that comes up. So
all right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice. Is Sell It Sister, is that still happening, or was that kind of in the past?
Oh my gosh, I really want to keep it going because it was so fun, but it just work got so crazy, and I spend enough time with my partner as it is. Love you, Brittany.
Well, thank you.
We will.
Let's go over to Blaine. What do you got working on? And since you're the Peter Pan guy,
that's me. That's
yes. What do you have working on, either yourself or a project you're helping somebody else bring to life?
Well, I'm doing, I have a Christmas movie that's dropping this Christmas, and I don't think I can tell where it is yet, but it's streaming. It's on a streaming platform. It's a movie called Cupid for Christmas, and it's silly and fun and romantic. And if you like that kind of thing, I think you'll like it. And I have a short film that's playing at Chris Lyon's film festival, the Louisiana Film Prize, which I'm excited about. But yeah, other than that, just excited to be pushing the in-between and, letting as many people as possible know about its existence and get to see it and enjoy it.
Very cool. And then Chris, how about you? What do you have what are you working on? What do you have coming up?
Well, I'm in the early stages of development on a feature-length documentary on the history of the Louisiana Hayride, which, for those who don't know, is it's kind of a Grand Ole Opry type, folk music series that happened, between the end of World War II and the beginning of the Civil Rights era. And so the aim of the documentary is to talk about this, wonderful music moment in history. Elvis got his start there on stage, and that's kind of what it's mostly famous for, Hank Williams. But we're looking at it through the lens of history, with the context of, post-World War II America, leading into the Civil Rights era, and all the things that kind of clashed around rock and roll and, the kind of disenfranchisement of Black artists during that time. We've got a great group of people that we're working with on that. And and that's it. And then I'm doing the film festival in October, which is a big deal because we're doing it in person with kind of these, guidelines on vaccinations and negative COVID tests. And so there's a lot of stress, and that happens in about 4 weeks. So that is 90% of what's on my mind right now.
Awesome. And then lastly, Chris, you talked about an organization you helped found earlier. Can you talk about that, and how can people get more information online?
Sure. So the film festival that I was just talking about, the Louisiana Film Prize, is a part of that. It's called Prize Foundation. You can visit prizefest.com. We do, everything from film, food, music, fashion, comedy. It's all creative, entrepreneurial, education and empowerment and exhibition. And then we have a high school component called Film Prize Junior, which we have launched in Louisiana, and now we're doing it in New Mexico. So it's kind of becoming a national organization, which is really cool.
Very cool. Awesome. And then last but not least, Mindy, what do you have coming up? Where can we find you?
Well, my first EP drops next week. So pre-save on iTunes.
Drops into the ocean?
It drops right into the ocean for all the whales to hear. Let's see. I'm writing. I'm writing. I haven't decided what my next project is, and as far as directing, but I have some good scripts that I'm actually looking to let go of and sell. So, and not direct myself. So that's what I'm doing right now, as I prepare for what's next. Waiting for some music. How do I point to them? Waiting for music.
We're all on different parts of the computer, so
right?
Point up, point
wherever
down.
They are.
That's why the Brady Bunch just looked everywhere, because they didn't know where anybody was. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all of our Film Threat Watch Party fans. We appreciate you sticking around with us. As of now, we don't have anything for September 3rd, but we're back with 1 hour out call on the 10th. And then we've got more stuff coming up September, October. Thank you to my panelists. This is a really beautiful movie in so many different ways. And Mindy, before you wax poetically about Ansley, I was listening to like a SoundCloud of the music, and now I'm kind of hooked. So I'm looking forward to running through the whole thing all over again tomorrow as I go back to work.
Well, so everyone knows, the soundtrack is available. You can get it on Apple, on iTunes. You can get it on Amazon Music. It's 17 tracks. We've got dialogue in between each of the songs, so it follows the movie to a T. So it's like watching or listening to the movie all over again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, go get it, guys.
I want Ansley to send it to me like she promised she was going to send Vesper Bell. I want her to send this one too.
Oh, okay. You got it.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining us.